Every single time I watch a French horror movie, it always disturbs me in some way, and I'm not sure why. Because some of the weirdest movies I have ever watched have been French. French directors, what is wrong with you? Movies like Infested, Inside, Climax, Raw, Titane, Martyrs, Trouble Every Day, and so on and on and on. Like, French people, come on, what is going on? Of course, it's not only French movies that make me feel like this, but today I found a movie that looks extremely disturbing, and it's called Mads. I feel like nobody's really talking about this movie, and the poster looks extremely disturbing and it looks like it's going to be wild, so I wanted to watch it with you and see how crazy it actually is. Because if we're going by past experiences, I know that this movie is going to be weird simply because it's French. I'm sorry, my expectations are that this movie is just going to be extremely gory, disgusting things are going to happen on screen, and it's going to end in a very, very depressing way with no resolution, and I'm just going to end up feeling numb. Because with the movies I've just mentioned, I felt like that, so that's my expectation for this movie. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm hating in this video. I don't want to be a hater, but like, French people, French directors, come on. So I'm gonna bring you with me and I'm gonna watch Mads. So let's go watch the movie and see if it's as disturbing as I think it will be. Let's go. French are extremely weird. If you can't tell by my hair, by the way I look, by everything, I was not gonna make a video today. I simply sat down to watch a movie called Mads, and that movie was so bloody fucking strange that I was like, I kind of have to make a video about this movie. So excuse this, you're just gonna have to forgive me, and we're just gonna be talking about this very weird, strange zombie horror type French movie that I knew nothing about. I went into this movie extremely blind, just wanted to watch something fun. The movie poster looked kind of interesting and I was like, oh okay, I know nothing about this movie, let's watch it. But no, the French as always are extremely fucking strange, and I was like, how many other French movies have I watched? Because as I was watching this, I was like, there's so many weird French horror movies that I've watched, and they're like, it feels like the French have just something very suppressed, and whenever they make horror movies, they're just trying to get something out of their system. Because we have movies like Infested, Raw, Titane, Martyrs, High Tension, Inside, Them, In My Skin. There's so many French movies, and the more I even look through these, like, I bet you as this video goes on, I'm going to remember even more French movies that I watched that have disturbed me, because every single time something just very fucked up is on my screen, and you can just almost guarantee that it is French, and this movie is no exception. What is Mads about? Well, Mads is about a guy called Roman. I think his name is actually Roman. I'm just gonna call him Roman, and he is high as ever. He's doing a load of things that you shouldn't be doing, sniffing things that you shouldn't be sniffing, and he is on a mad one. He gets into his dad's very, very fancy car and he drives on. He's in a great mood. It's his birthday. Later on, he's going to be going to a party for his birthday. Everything is great. He's smoking in the car. Oh, life is so good. He drops the smoke. He picks it up, stops the car. He panics. Oh, don't worry. The car's fine. That's all that matters. Then on the bonnet of his car, there's a woman all wrapped up. She looks like she just gotten out of a hospital. She is bandaged up. Everything, she just looks like a patient, and she jumps into the car and she's doing all this. Clearly, something is going wrong. Then, the more you notice the woman, she can't speak, and she takes out a recording device. Let's say the sock is a recording device, and she gives it to him, and he plays it. And on the tape, it's just a recording about a subject, aka this person wrapped up in bandages. And they're like, we've taken out her tongue, we've taken out her teeth. Whenever she sees light, she gets very angry, and all this sort of stuff. And you're like, what in the world is going on? And if you are sane and not absolutely high out of your mind, what would you do? Yes, you would call the police, the ambulance, and he does this. Fair play to Roman. But then he realizes, oh crap, if the police come, then what's going to happen? I'm going to be arrested for taking things that should not be in my body. So he's like, oh, I don't really know. Let's go. And he's like, I'm going to bring you to the hospital. And then this girl who's freaking out because she's clearly just escaped somewhere where she was probably tortured, held captive, something along those lines. So they're going to the hospital, and she kind of jumps up on him, she like bites him, she like scratches him, all this weird stuff, and he's like, nah, fuck this, we're not going to the hospital anymore, I'm bringing you to my house. Great. So he brings her to his house, he leaves his fancy car that's covered in blood, and he is freaking out. He is like out of his head, just tripping. Imagine you are like in that state and then this happens to you. So he's like, I don't know what to do. He's freaking out. His dad's ringing him. Everything's pissing him off. And this movie, holy crap, this movie makes you feel anxious, makes you feel dread, paranoia, everything. Does it so well, but I will get to that in a second. So then he goes to the shower, blah, blah, blah. His dad calls. He goes back to the car because it's like, right, I need to do something about this. And guess what happens? She is not there. Boom, bam, bam, bam. What is going on? What is this creature? Is it a human? Is it not? And basically, the story progresses as he slowly loses his mind. And spoiler ahead. I'm going to spoil this a little bit. I'm spoiling it. Spoiler. This person is basically a zombie that has contaminated anyone. Basically, if you get in contact with them, you're going to be contaminated. And he slowly turns into a zombie that is absolutely out of his mind, stoned, which is extremely interesting because he goes to a party, and this movie is sensory overload. As he's at his own party for his birthday, the lights are going crazy. He's clearly transforming. Things are going on. And at the same time, he's getting extremely violent, paranoid. And this movie progresses with 3 characters. We have Roman and 2 girls he's kind of with, like friends, like more than friends type of thing. And it kind of follows him, then follows another girl, and then another girl as they all slowly transform into this weird zombie thing. And what makes this movie batshit crazy? Oh yeah, it's French. Every fucking horror movie made by a French person just has to be ridiculous, disgusting, over the top, crazy. And you know what, respect to them, because they just know how to make a movie that makes you feel uncomfortable, the edge of your seat, quite terrifying, but also the entire movie I was like, what is actually going on? And I feel like that's a positive thing for a movie like this, because this movie is just batshit crazy. And one thing that makes this movie batshit crazy that I really respect is that I think, from what I can tell, maybe it wasn't, I think this movie was shot in one shot. The entire 85 minutes of this movie was shot in one shot, which kind of like adds to the dread and the paranoia that happens on screen, because you feel like you're with the character the entire time. As they're freaking out, you're with them for every single step of the story. And I just respect a movie that is shot in one shot, because I've watched one before called Victoria, which was like 2 hours and 20 minutes long, and that movie was absolutely incredible. And with this movie, as I said, I was not expecting this at all. I just saw the poster and I was like, hey, I'm gonna check this out. And I was not expecting something so fascinating because, one, imagine having to upkeep all these performances, remember everything, and be so like on top of your game for 90 minutes, not fuck anything up. 90 minutes, make this horror movie flow super smoothly. Number 2, the concept is very interesting. It's not a typical zombie movie where they just walk around like It's more so a very slow transformation. It's more so somebody slowly losing their mind, slowly transforming into this kind of like modern type of zombie. It's not like a zombie that you would see in every single movie. It's a very interesting zombie because it's very subtle changes, like the eyes change, and then they get like a thirst for blood, and then they get angrier and more powerful in the light, and they just want to attack everything. And as this movie progresses, you realize that it's not just these 3 characters that are infected, it's the entire city, and it's going to spread further and further and further. And it's just a very fun and entertaining watch that I was just not expecting to enjoy as much. But with a movie that's shot in one shot, there are things that are obviously negative, and I don't really want to talk about the negatives because this movie is great. But one negative about this movie is, well, 2. 1, there are times where obviously we're trying to like set up the next thing, or we're transitioning from a place or from a character to another character, from a place to a place, and the plot gets, the pace gets very slow, because you're just watching someone cycle and go like this. Because whenever they're changing into a zombie, this is what they do. They go like, and they go like, it's very weird. And I feel like at times, especially with the second character, like one of his girlfriends, her acting is just not great, because she keeps doing this ha 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 ha, and I'm like, you're kind of taking me out of this. And I kind of wish this movie more so entirely focused on Roman, but I won't tell you what happens to him. But I just wasn't expecting this movie to kind of like go away from him, because I really enjoyed his performances. He kind of looks like a demented French young Bo Burnham. That's kind of how I would describe him. But regardless, this movie was extremely interesting. And usually, my thing with zombie movies is I just usually don't like zombie movies. I can't really name many zombie movies that I actually enjoyed, simply because it's somebody that has like a load of weapons and they're just like destroying this thing that just never dies. And to me, it just gets very repetitive and very boring. And I suppose at the end of the day, it's just not for me. I'm just not a big fan of zombie movies. Maybe I've been watching the wrong zombie movies, maybe, but I just usually I can't really think of many zombie movies that I like. It's just not for me, like shooting things over and over and they're never really ending, and it's just not for me. But with this movie, I feel like the take on zombies was very, very interesting. One, we kind of saw the very subtle transformation, but at the same time, it wasn't a very stereotypical zombie that we would see in just like everyday horror, which is one, absolutely great. Two, I knew nothing going into this movie, which made it very, very interesting, because I was like, is it going to be about a zombie? Is it going to be about this like person that's escaped from somewhere and they're going to go on like a killing spree? Because the poster gives nothing away, which is great. And number three, I feel like this movie wasn't really focusing on like the kills and how the gore was shown on screen. It was more so showing us the transformations and making us like piece everything together. But at the same time, there were parts to this movie which I was like, what is actually going on? Because as I said, the first subject felt like it came out of like some experimental lab or something, but out of nowhere, when Roman goes home because the security alarm on his house, because he decides to go to a party when there's like basically a zombie in his house, and his dad is like, hey, somebody broke into our house, you have to go home. He goes home and he sees in his bath the woman, and she's like stabbing herself and doing crazy stuff. But out of nowhere, like a SWAT team arrives, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? And I'm not gonna lie, I don't really know everything or understand everything about this movie, but I just loved how batshit crazy it was. I loved that it was in one take. I just found it very entertaining, less than 90 minutes long, and I feel like nobody's really talking about this movie. And as I said, I wasn't taking notes, nothing. I just simply wanted to watch this movie, but it made me feel very like, that I just had to sit down and make a video about it. And I just can't get over the hair. What is going on? What is this big head pancake thing? It is ridiculous. I'm sorry. So I'm gonna stop talking now. So if you've watched this movie, please let me know, and if you haven't, go check it out and watch it and tell me what you think about it in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.